For a very long time, ships have been a crucial part of human history. From Roman triremes to wind-driven ships to nuclear-powered supercarriers that altered the course of history, maritime history has given us numerous iconic boats. They have unavoidably contributed to an undiminished totality of ships throughout history due to their engagement in both military and civilian duties. Yet, not all of these have been able to leave a lasting impression over many years and earn a spot on the list of historically significant ships. Here in this video we present you the 10 best historical ships. Nobody can dispute the significance of this little, sluggish, and repulsive Spanish ship in relation to Christopher Columbus and his discovery of a new planet, which has given it a permanent position in the annals of ships. This robust small historic ship was run aground on Christmas Day in 1492 and saved for wood, which was eventually used to build another illustrious ship called La Navidad. Since then, 4 copies of this old ship have been constructed, but none are perfect reproductions. Hence, the original setup is still a mystery. This groundbreaking ship, which the Confederates built in 1863, was intended to attack Union Navy ships and restrict southern ports, but tragically sunk twice during testing, killing 13 of the crew. As a result of this legendary vessel sinking the Union sloop Housatonic on February 17, 1864, Hunley holds the distinction of being the first submarine to bury a ship. It has been waiting for conservation since August 2000 in a specially built tank after spending 136 years languishing on the bottom of Charleston Harbor. The lengthy conflict between these two venerable ships in Hampton Roads, Virginia, in March 1862 is legendary. The Union-built Monitor, which was constructed using the refloated hull of the Union frigate Merrimac, is regarded as the first ship to have a revolving gun turret fitted. Virginia was destroyed in a bombing in May 1862 before giving up, and on New Year's Eve, the Monitor, carrying 16 crew members, capsized in rough waves off Cape Hatteras. The Monitor's wreckage was discovered in 1973 and is currently on display at the Mariners Museum in Newport News, Virginia. The Old Ironsides Constitution, which has been afloat for 213 years and is more recognized for its strong design, has been a museum since 1907 in Boston, Massachusetts. The First Barbary War and the War of 1812 saw it engage in key fights, in which it defeated the British frigates HMS Guerrier and HMS. Throughout the years, it has undergone various restorations, renovations, and other rebuilding efforts. Its keel is the only component that has not changed. Now, on its annual turnaround sail, this historic ship is towed into Boston Harbor. This ship, also known as the Mighty Mo, has a notable place in maritime history since, on September 2, 1945, the surrender papers that declared the end of World War II were signed there in Tokyo Bay. A renowned ship in Ronald Reagan's 600-ship fleet plan in 1984 was this historic cruiser, which later served in the Korean War. Later in 1991, during the First Persian Gulf War, it was utilized to fire cruise missiles and 16-inch rounds against Iraqi targets in Kuwait. In Pearl Harbor, this historic ship now functions as a museum and military monument. The Victory, which served the Spanish and French fleets in the latter years of the 18th century, is regarded as one of the greatest wooden warships ever constructed. It was intended to be destroyed after the Napoleonic War, but it ended up becoming a pierside training facility until it was recently significantly rebuilt by the British government in 1922 and started operating as one of the oldest ships remaining afloat in nautical history in Portsmouth, England. Not because of the wonderful events connected with it, but rather because of the problem they had created, this has become one of the most remembered episodes in the history of ships. On February 15, 1985, when anchored in the shallow water close to Havana Harbor, it was blown by an explosion, the cause of which has never been discovered, which resulted in a significant loss of life for its crew. Since then, it has been suspected of an intentional act of sabotage that may have set off a mine and started a war between Spain and the United States. Later in 1911, the harbor was cleared of the ship's wreckage in order to allow for maritime traffic. This enormous historical ship, which had a length of 823 feet and a peak speed of 30 knots, was without a doubt the biggest and fastest battleship afloat in 1941 and struck fear into the heart of the British Navy. The British battleship fleet was sufficiently damaged before it was sunk at the bottom of the ocean. The finding, however, suggested that the Brits may have scuttled rather than sunk this legendary battleship in nautical history when it was discovered in 1989. This famous ship is connected to what was likely the most terrible outcome of World War II. Of 1,400 crewmen, 1,177 perished in the Japanese surprise attack on December 7, 1941, including the captain and an admiral. It had been blazing for days because of the fire at its front magazine. The wreck, which was beyond repair, stayed there as an example of a global war monument that is visited by millions of people. Its opulent trip aboard the British White Star Liner, which was intended to highlight humankind's technical might, may be the unquestionably most renowned ship in nautical history to experience the most devastating incident. It failed to evacuate the approximately 1,500 people on board during her inaugural trip on April 10, 1912, from Southampton to New York. 5 days later, it hit an iceberg and drowned in the North Atlantic. This ancient ship, which was rediscovered in 1985, and its equally historic narrative have served as the basis for several documentaries as well as one of the most popular Hollywood movies of 1999. In the video, we discussed 10 famous ships and their historical heritage. While they today appear quite little in comparison to the ships, the historical traces they leave behind are not at all modest. Don't forget to like the video and follow the channel before you depart. Goodbye.